Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Hello, Luis, the real thing, and covered me. Gonna wait just a little bit, just a minute, to see if there's other people who might be late or something. Yeah. So thank you for being here. This is the first time I do this type of live. I'm excited. Hello. How are you doing, guys? Okay, so I'm gonna jump into it. Yeah, it's going to be a reaction live to some outreach videos, but it's not necessarily going to be focused on the non-vegans. It's going to be focused more on the outreach style and hopefully what we can learn from the activists and what we can, like the feedback that we can give as well. So obviously it's never very comfortable to be, you know, to get feedback on your outreach, especially when it's negative, but really it's only meant in these lives to be, very much constructive and to build each other and to just get better at doing activism. I will learn a lot from activists, and I hope that we can all discuss together what we think is the most effective in outreach. Obviously I don't know that much, but I hope that, yeah, just the discussion with you guys and just looking at what other people are doing out there will help us all. The reason why I wanted to start doing these lives is because I have a very hard time watching outreach myself. I actually used to watch outreach way more. I mean, actually watching outreach when I wasn't doing outreach. And I think the reason is when I watch someone else do outreach, it feels like I'm doing it in some sense. I don't know if you guys relate. Let me know if you relate to that, because um, it's like everything that they're like, I'm just scared for them, and I just feel like I'm in their shoes, and it's very unnerving to watch outreach for those reasons. And so I tend to not watch it, and to do it with you guys and to be able to discuss the outreach style together makes it very motivating for me. So yeah, I'd rather do it with you and learn with like other activists together and have, exchange ideas on what we're watching than to do it alone, if that makes sense. And yeah, I really want to learn more different styles, so it's gonna be good. Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. So that's good, I'm not alone. All right, so what we're gonna do is that, I mean, of course, please tell me what you think about the videos, obviously in the chat as well, and tell me what you think about my feedback as well. We're gonna have to choose between 5 videos in term of like the order of them. There's 5, and so please in the chat choose between 1 and 5. The kind of like going blindly into it, what you want to see, just like go, take a guess. Not take a guess, but like, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to choose a number, and then the number with the most votes will be the video we watch next. So please choose a number between 1 and 5, and then we'll go with the video that is associated with that number. uh, a number between 1 and 5. Okay, we have a 1. We have 9 people here right now, so we should have 9 votes, hopefully. Okay, 5. You don't even know what they are. You're still having doubts. We need more votes, guy. Come on. A number between 1 and 5. Okay. Okay, we have a 1, we have a 5, and we have a 3. We need at least a tiebreaker. Come on, I give you 1 more minute and then I'll have to choose for myself because we don't have enough people voting. A number between 1 and 5. Okay. Okay, I think we're gonna go with 1. Yeah, okay, Vegan Animal Defender. We're basically voting on between the number 1 and 5, which video you want to see, but you don't know what it is yet. I think we're gonna go with 1 because we have the most people who voted for 1. So, all right. Okay, so let me share my screen. Hello, David. I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad all you guys are here. So thank you so much for being here. Let me share my screen. Okay, 1 is. Yep. Hold on. Yep. Okay. This one is not going to be that much of a surprise. Okay. So obviously we are watching Joey. I'm obviously not gonna I'm not going to react to the outreach they've been doing during like the protests that are associated with Pignorant because they are a very different type of outreach, I think. So hey Tofu Dog, hey everybody. So yeah, we're gonna react to this one because I was sent this one, I think, and someone asked me my opinion and I never really gave it. So let's start, guys.
I've just been told like I just need loads of protein.
Piece of piss, mate.
See, it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable.
It's a piece of piss.
But I have to eat a lot because I've got a fast metabolism.
How many calories?
5,000.
5?
Yeah, yeah. In weight.
Serious?
Yeah, no, it's a joke. I just drink it, pint of milk.
I can build my muscle without the bodies of animals who would suffer for it. So
Maybe I just don't care enough. I don't know. I don't know. Well, steak's supposed to be a superfood, so I've been told. Like everyone's dribbling on to me in the bodybuilding world. They reckon steak's proper superfood.
I'm asking people why they're not vegan.
I watched your podcast the other day with Tristan.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Had a few people come up and say that, eh?
Yeah.
Did you watch the whole thing?
I did, yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you agree with Tristan?
Some things.
Just put up there. Okay.
I agree with some things.
Did you agree that, not to care about, like, animals in those factories?
Well, yeah, like you were saying, like, I've never seen the factory, so I can't say, but what you were saying, like, it seemed pretty brutal. If you said there was, like, dying, right?
Yeah.
In their
millions of them will die in the sheds because they grow too fast to support their own body weight. They lie on their face and they'll just die.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, it's common. Factory farming is common here.
Yeah.
In the UK, you'll see the green grass pastures, all this advertising, but UK is the same as any other country when it comes to factory farming.
Yeah, the main reason why I'm not vegan though is because I don't.
Okay, I already have something I want to say about it. Okay, so I understand like people will also often start like when you ask them about like veganism and things like that, they will go straight to the well, if you kill them humanely, if you exploit them humanely, they will not say exploit because they don't really think about that word that much, I've noticed. But the thing is that like he's trying to like explain that humane is like the humane myth basically. But I feel like I personally try to avoid completely going into like debunking if something is humane because it's completely irrelevant. I think I understand why you would go for that as an outreacher because you're trying to appeal to something that you have in common with a person, which is agreeing on the fact that it's if it's it has to be humane or something, otherwise it's not okay, kind of thing. But it's still like it's still giving them an out. I feel like if you're telling them like like, well, it's actually not true that it's humane, it still gives the idea to that person that if it was humane, maybe it would be okay, to slaughter them or to exploit them. So if there was no suffering, it would be okay or something. Which most people think like that already. So I think it doesn't really help that much. I find it very relevant if it's actually humane or not. So yeah, and also he said something about like, do you agree with like Tristan that about not caring or something? And I'm not sure exactly what, like, I mean, I'm just gonna say something I think about, like the idea of caring in outreach. I think when, sometimes there's vegans who say like the one thing I don't know what to do about is when someone says I don't care. And I used to actually think that. I used to think like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do, something like that? But really, when you think about it, that's not an argument at all. It doesn't matter if you don't care or if you care. If you don't care about someone, it doesn't make it okay for you to exploit their body or whatever. Like it's completely irrelevant again. So yeah, but interesting. I wonder why. Because I don't know yet. All right, so let's continue.
Don't know enough about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that the main reason?
Yeah.
Do you care about the experiences of like
I do,
other
yeah.
animals?
Yeah, I do,
Alright,
yeah.
so you're not like Tristan.
No, not in that sense. No.
He's like he's an anomaly, dude. Like not an anomaly, but you do get people that are just like they can just switch off. I don't care. I think he's got a bit of a switch.
Yeah.
I think he's had to have that hardline switch for whatever reason.
Not caring is still not a valid justifier, because if you were in the victim's position, you'd certainly want people to care. Is the best I've got to the I don't care response so far. Yeah. But even if you're not in the victim's position, like, I mean, it's completely irrelevant. Like, it's like if you're on trial or something. I mean, I know it's not a law thing, a legal thing, or illegal thing, but if you were on trial and you say, "Well, Your Honor, I don't care," yeah, why you bring that up? I mean, I chose not to watch that debate because I knew it was going to be futile from the start, and I don't want to support giving the Tates, human traffickers, any sort of platform. Okay. They wouldn't be okay if someone was oppressing them and they said, I don't care about you. Yeah, exactly. So guys, please feel free to comment on it. I want this to be an interactive kind of thing. If you want to comment, of course.
Well, he's like that with a lot of things. He's very regimented.
Carefree.
Yeah.
Like I think they were saying when he was in jail, he was like, I don't care. My mind is somewhere else. And like, so you can just really make the switch, because I don't think he wants to change. With you, someone who's like expresses normal human emotion, how do you justify like yourself? Because I've been vegan.
Well, I feel like that's another version of like, I don't care. It's like you want to, like, he doesn't want to change it. I get it, like, because he's kind of talking about how futile it is in the conversation with him, because he does not want to change. And if someone is completely deciding they don't want to change, yeah, it's a little futile at some point in the conversation. But again, like, I feel like when even when you appeal to someone's like virtue or something, to like, you seem like someone compassionate, or you seem like you'd be open to changing or something, I feel like it's still giving them an out in some way, because it doesn't matter if you don't want to change. It doesn't matter if like you're like, it's not about being a good person. It's not about being virtuous or about being compassionate at all. Of course, these people tend to make the switch more easily because they have empathy, but it's like the only thing you need is decency and not being super selfish and just super self-centered, I guess. And I don't know, like, I feel like it's still giving an out in some sense, but also I understand this idea of like, you're trying to build rapport by seeing the best in someone else, and so you're telling them that so that you can appeal to that kind of, you can like be like, well, building that in them, building that self concept of I am an empathetic person, because maybe it will help. But I also feel like it can be dangerous. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, hold on, I forgot this one. Yeah. It's not about the affection someone has towards animals. Yep. Yeah. I mean, if they care about injustice, they will be more likely to make the switch. But even if they didn't, it doesn't matter, because it's not about them. Again, like, it doesn't matter what you feel about it. It's not okay for you to not be vegan. Oh, hey, well, thanks for passing by. Yeah, totally understand. Like, this time is not good for everybody, for sure. Well, have a good night, I guess. Um, Thanks for liking the video, Vegan Power Lab. Okay, let's go back to it.
Nearly 10 years,
Yeah,
right? And I was a big meat eater, gang member, things like that.
Yeah.
I just myself couldn't justify doing that to animals for what I got out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I wasn't in some survival situation. I wasn't defending my family. They didn't commit some heinous crime against me. They were just innocent beings who were like similar to dogs in their experience, infinitely murdered, tortured often en masse, so I could have this meal 3 times a day that I could easily replace. Like I couldn't justify it. I'm asking, like, how do you justify it?
Well, obviously, like,
I think it's really great to like take like your own experience as a resource to connect with someone and be more personal. I'm really bad about that because I feel like I feel like I don't have the time in outreach to do that, but I think it's a great thing to do that.
I go gym, so I've just been told like I just need loads of protein.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How much protein? Go
how
like
much?
that?
I have 300 grams.
Yeah, you're looking good. You're in better shape than me, but
No,
I
you've
don't
got pretty
train.
big arms, though.
I got to train a bit more.
I've got small arms for like.
No, you look good. You look good. So how much protein you need today? 200?
I have 250 about.
250?
Yeah.
I think he's
I've got fast.
I think he's doing so great with rapport right now. You know, like making a bit of a joke, like being friendly, super friendly and stuff. I mean, it's, you know, like, again, like doing outreach is not about being friends with the person you're outreaching, but rapport does help like bringing them their defenses down, and that helps them be intellectually honest. And having it just helps that when they feel safer in the conversation, because then you can get away with more, you know, more attention that you put on them. Like, it's like what debug your brain says. You know, like I've referenced that in the last slide, but he does like a lot of he's done outreach videos where he was comparing the Holocaust to the animal Holocaust, for example. And it's obviously a very heavy thing to do in an outreach, even if it's accurate. But because he's so good with rapport, Justin from Debug Your Brain, he can get away with so much. You know, people were not even that mad at all. They were actually receiving it pretty well. And so if he hadn't been as good with rapport, they would have just exploded more. And when your brain is in fight and flight mode, it's much of the reaction that you're gonna give is not like a response, it's a reaction. It's very triggered, and it can be good to get a lot of views on a YouTube video, which is great if that's a strategy. But if you're trying to get through the barriers for that person, it can be. I think it makes it easier ego-wise. And I have this theory. I'm not sure if it's true, but I feel like it probably takes less time to make the vegan switch if you've been held accountable, but in a way that wasn't like destroying your self-concept, because humans are very have a very fragile self-concept. So I'm not exactly sure that's true, but I just feel like it is. But whatever. Even if you had a terrible rapport, it would plant a seed anyways. But I think that it makes it grow faster or something if you you know. Okay, fine.
Metabolism.
Piece of piss,
See,
mate.
it's
on a vegan
unimaginable.
diet.
It's unimaginable.
It's a piece of piss.
I don't know how you do it.
After a certain threshold, you don't have to even worry about the amino acid profile. Like, it just all levels out. Like, once you get it, if you get enough protein after a certain threshold, you get all the right amino acids.
The thing is, with my job though, I'm always living out of hotels. I can't cook. So I'm always in hotels, traveling around each day.
Same here. Same here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a full-time activist. We travel around a lot. We're traveling right now. We're in a hotel right now, actually.
Yeah.
And use a bit of Uber Eats. We use an app called Happy Cow.
Okay.
Or if you're training, I would just go to Tesco. I'll grab like cold mock meats, cold vegan.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm stopping so much, but I have a lot of things that I'll brought up in my mind. It's interesting because I feel like this is exactly the opposite of my outreach method, because I do a lot of reverse psychology. And so I established the ethics first before going to the how. And he does it the opposite way, actually. He goes through I mean, yeah, he talked about ethics a little bit, and he says, uh, it's starting with the how way more, which is it's another method of doing it, but I'm not really used to it anymore. So kind of like the strategy, I feel like is trying to knock down the barrier so that you can get to the core of the ethics argument kind of thing. Whereas in reverse psychology, it's the opposite. You get to the core, and then once they get why, you do well. Then what's preventing you from living that way? Um, I am not a good cook either. I try, but damn, when I hate cooking too, like I relate. It doesn't matter really. You do not have to be a good cook to be plant-based diet. It's like it's such a silly thing that people think. I don't know why they think that. I mean, but it's completely. It's like any diet, but plant-based diet. Um, Me? Well, I mean, I was basically vegetarian. Um, yeah, shameful part of my life. Okay.
Chicken, and I'll come back and I'll make a big chuck it in with salad with beans, and I'll just like eat it in a container like that, and then I can make sure that I'm getting enough protein. I'll bring vegan protein powder with me if I want to hit my protein. Otherwise, I don't know if it fits your macros or if you do like more strict regimen.
I do, but I have to eat a lot because I've got a fast metabolism.
How many calories? 1,000 calories.
That's why I don't do it like this. I don't do the reverse psychology because I do the reverse psychology instead of this because I feel like if they don't get why, they're just on like kind of the defense, but they don't really know why they're on they're not really they don't know, for example, that what veganism is. Like he doesn't know what veganism is. He thinks it's a diet right now. And so there is the diet aspect of it, which is plant-based diets. But I feel like it's kind of like losing time to do it like this, because I feel like you don't have to. If people get the why, they won't like be stopped by very little barriers, such as like, what about my macros kind of thing. You just go and see how vegans do it, and you will care more about the actual horrible nature of animal exploitation and use. You'll care more about that than your freaking macros, you know. And if you care about that, that's okay too. It's just that in the conversation, I feel like it's a weird way to do it. I mean, I'm biased obviously because I don't like this outreach method for myself. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that um, I don't like it as much. Yes, exactly. I mean, it is like that afterwards usually, but people are way more backed into a corner and they get like it's easier. I mean, for example, in my outreach method with I mean mine and David C. Arena's method, we I mean it's like we've already established before even we know that it's about veganism that they understand why it's wrong, human exploitation and use in slavery. And so now it's just like they're like the excuses they bring up, I can refer back to what they already agreed on usually. And the rest, it's like, okay, well, if you don't know how this is, I can help you, but really, is this a good excuse kind of thing? What are your thoughts on a vegan being in a relationship with someone who won't go beyond being vegetarian? Do you think the relationship would be worth holding on to, or maybe not? Ooh, difficult situation. I think it's very personal. I personally could not do that, but I did that when I was in a relationship when I was plant-based. I thought I was vegan, but I didn't understand what veganism was, but whatever. I was plant-based and the guy was non-vegan and he was a, meat eater and he became plant-based in the relationship. So sometimes they do that, but of course, like you're not talking about that. You're talking about someone's vegetarian. Well, it depends about your values, like, I mean, I don't understand how you would be connected to someone like that when you understand how horrific it is, but I also understand that when you're connected with someone, it can be very, very hard to end it, even if I don't know, it's very complicated, it's very individual, of course, but I don't know if I can't really, I think it's a bit messed up to be in a relationship with someone who, is that self-centered and does not understand how it's wrong. I think it's kind of messed up, but I understand the people who are having a hard time getting out of a relationship with with someone that you love. So it's not like I'm going to judge someone for still being with them. To some degree, it makes sense. After you realize what veganism actually is about, what did you call yourself again? You live vegan again? Well, I guess I'm vegan. I am actually vegan, but before I wasn't. I just thought I was, which makes sense because it's really advertised as like veganism it's talked about as a diet. It's talked about as like an environmentalism thing or a health thing, when really people are talking about plant-based diets in that sense when they're talking about veganism. So it makes sense why people would think they're vegan when they actually don't align with being opposed to animal exploitation and use. But yeah, I just wasn't. I thought it was, but it wasn't. Okay, I'm gonna answer this one, and then we're continuing with the video. The adherence to a 100% plant-based diet element of veganism is where the biggest issues come from. Do you think all of the people who are having legitimate health issues? I don't know what that means. If you want to clarify what the letters mean, are all liars? No. Maybe they're having issues, but the thing is, we have a lot of evidence, meta-analysis like the stands from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, like from 117 studies, including meta-analysis, which is the highest, the highest form of evidence. We have the evidence that people can be healthy on a well plant-based diet. So it's an anecdote. Like a lot of non-vegans or people that are not on plant-based diets are unhealthy too, and they don't know how to plan their meals, or they're having health issues that are either related to their diet or unrelated to their diet. And so there's this tendency in people who are having either health issues or not actually, or attributing whatever their health issue is to their diet. They tend to make it about being vegan, about being on a plant-based diet, when they don't necessarily know for sure. So it really depends, but I think like at some point, you got to just see if you did something wrong, and also see if it's actually diet caused, So, whole food plant-based. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Thanks. Okay, let's continue. I hope that answered it.
5,000.
Five?
Yeah. If I have 4,000 below, I'm losing weight. I'm losing weight.
Are you serious?
No, it's a joke.
What do you do?
I work in a rigger.
Oh, for
Build
sake.
stuff, but like that. It's a joke.
5,000 calories, bro.
Eating's harder than the training.
You're a rigger, but what do you do for training? Weights?
Yeah, weight training, just pure bodybuilding.
Before we get into that, like, do you agree that it's kind of unjustifiable what we do to animals en masse so we can get this like trivial amount of, if it wasn't protein, like let's take protein out of the picture, just let's just say for taste, convenience, habit, things like that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's unjustified?
I'm not sure because I'm not.
It's very strange because like we have a lot of bodybuilders that we know of, like that are vegan. I know one person actually, but like it's not something that is not possible on a plant-based diet. I wish he had maybe said that, just to get that out of the way. Maybe refer to the documentary Game Changers, and refer back to like Boomian. I don't remember his first name. Sorry for that. The guy who was like a strong man and he was on a full plant-based diet. So it's kind of like, it's funny because now we're kind of going back into it, and I mean I'm criticizing, but like I'm just sharing my thoughts on it. Outreach is much harder to do when you're actually doing it yourself in real time. Like I keep forgetting a lot of stuff that I think I want to do. So it's way easier to criticize, of course, but.
No, I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't seen how brutal it actually is. But
what do you want to see? What do you want to watch? I can show you a couple of things. Like,
to be honest, I do believe you.
I mean, we can show you do believe me, but like, it depends on what do you eat the most? Chicken?
Yeah, it's steak.
So if you watch this movie called Land of Hope and Glory, I know of these investigators who got this footage. So this is just like stock standard factory farming, pigs dying on slats.
I really hate when vegans say factory farming at all. I think it's terrible because I can understand the strategy. It's like most people are against factory farming. They're not really against it because they're still paying for it and, eating the animals that come from there. But they say they are against factory farming and they understand how horrific it is. But the problem is when you say factory farming, I feel like it just people go straight to like the humane from sense like, okay, so if the problem is factory farming, then I can exploit animals in a nice way, right? If they don't suffer too much. I think that's what I never say that word if I can help it. I never say it because of that. And I understand also the desire of like showing the suffering of the animals in factory farming because maybe it will make people snap back to reality. Like if they see the animals that are suffering the most in animal agriculture, for example, maybe they will be able to empathize with them more easily because it's just much more obvious. So I understand that. But I think when you show footage of animals suffering like that, it's important to afterwards address that it's not about the suffering aspect, it's about the exploitation. And yeah, a lot of exploitation entails suffering, but even if they weren't suffering, it's just still slavery, it's still exploitation, still using their bodies as a commodity. So people don't know that veganism means that, and I think it's very important in outreach, and I used to never do that, to define veganism. So that they know that it's actually about exploitation and use, any use, any commodification. It's gonna take us a while to actually go through these videos, but it's a good way to have a conversation, I guess. Like I'm just gonna keep talking a lot. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, yeah. I mean, like any diet, it has to be balanced and it has to be backed up by science kind of thing. So, yeah. Yeah, but we don't know exactly what the cause is. We don't know that it's a diet because we have like what do we do then with all this evidence that we have meta-analyses and stuff like that showing that all the nutrients you need, are found in a whole food plant-based diet. Like even the B12 thing, like it has to be supplemented for non-vegans. I mean, people that are not on fully plant-based diets anyways. The animals are supplemented in B12 anyways, stuff like that. So I get the concern, but the thing is that these people don't really do their due diligence often, and there's never been proven that there's like a nutrient that you can get, from a a plant-based diet that you can find in animal flesh and secretions, So and also it's interesting because these people, who say like I'm no longer vegan because of health issues, it's interesting because like they still think it's just a diet or something, and they don't even try to not exploit animals in other things. Like for example, they don't even try to go for like if I can't get my nutrient hypothetically from a plant-based diet, I'm still not going to exploit animals in other ways. I'm still going to stand against animal exploitation in all the ways I can. They don't do that anymore. Often, I mean, I've never seen someone who does it. But whatever, I don't know. It's just a thought. Yeah. Yep. Oh, guys, I forgot to tell you. Okay, so basically, I have a new system. So if you have a question, type a fish at the end of your comment or like a message so that I can see that it's a question, because it's kind of hard sometimes to filter through all the chat and at the same time as doing the live. So if you have a question directed at me specifically, put a fish at the end and then I will be able to see it much more easily. So that's a good point. Oh, hold on. Okay, so but people should show compassion, at least say that they are against factory farming. It wouldn't make sense to talk about why it is wrong to exploit them in the best way if they don't even show. I don't agree with that. Like, again, like, they don't have to care. You have to, like, I understand, like, if they don't care, you would be like trying to appeal to what they care about. But just doing that in and of itself, I feel like it's validating this view that it's, if I don't care, I can do it. I can still exploit animals. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, if you're against any use, you're gonna be against factory farming, of course. But like, no, I think if you're like if you're against factory farming, but you're for farming in general in a humane way, you're just a hypocrite. Like, it doesn't make any sense because there is often like a lot of suffering involved, for example, but it's just as unjust, like both are just so messed up. They're still treated as commodities in both cases, and they're still slaves often and just exploited. So, but I understand the desire to appeal to that, but I don't think it's a good strategy. Uh, okay, back to the video.
Yeah, look, piglets dying on the floor. This is standard. See this all the time.
Yeah.
Antibiotics and being injected into them, clipping their teeth out, tail off.
Yeah, he was saying like this was a great human invention, right?
Do you think factory farming is bad?
No. Are they cruel? Maybe. But I don't care. I think it's an amazing feat of human ingenuity.
Yeah. Which, I mean, basically with Tristan, I was just like allowing him to say things that majority of people would disagree with. I mean, I wasn't as hard on Tristan as I usually am on people.
I don't know if he was saying that just to wind you up.
Exactly. So I was trying not to get wound up.
Yeah.
It's a gas chamber. So CO2 is an aversive gas, and when you inhale it, it burns your eyes, nose, mucous membranes because of it's like can of Coke gas. You know that?
Yeah.
I understand this strategy. Like, I show footage, for example, with the free and stuff. I get it. Like, if they see animals suffering, the victims of the exploitation, they will be more able to empathize. But at the same time, I feel like, okay, there's two things. I think it's good in that sense because you're describing how horrific this, form of slaughter is, or exploitation, whatever. But there's also it's the other side of it that can be problematic is that you're kind of describing one practice, and so you're kind of making it about the practice. You're not making it about all use and all commodification. You're making it about this cruel practice. So in that sense, I think it can be bad because it can kind of jumpstart them into like, well, that's a bad practice, so we should do it more humanely, kind of thing.
And they scream really loud.
I don't agree with it. Massively overproduced animals. I don't mind so much if you're going out hunting for your food.
Okay, but that's not where you get your food, is it?
No, obviously.
I'm against hunting too. I think it's murder. But you just go to the store and get your chicken.
Yeah.
And so you basically.
See, I think there's a strange way of doing it because it's like, why is it relevant that he doesn't hunt? Even if he did, it would still just be just as bad. I mean, maybe there would be less suffering, but it doesn't matter because it's just as wrong. It's still using someone's body, so.
Basically getting factory farm chicken, pigs, cows that are mass slaughtered anyway. Do you think that's justified? Because you said, I don't know what it looks like. We've shown you a little bit. Do you think that's justified for what you get out of it? If you had alternatives.
Maybe I just don't care enough. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
You might not. You might not care about that because it's not you, but would you care more if it was dogs in those farms?
Not really.
Not
really.
Just about.
That's strange. Why are we appealing to what they care about? Because it doesn't matter. It's just irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like, oh, sorry. I think it's just. I get it. I understand, but I don't think it's a good strategy. Because you should tell them, like does it, like, for example, if someone was going to use someone's body against their will, whatever, like, for example, I do in outreach, I say, like, I ask the question, like, if someone, what exactly the question? I don't remember exactly what the question is actually, but it's something about like, if they think that the slave is here for them, for example, does that matter? And then like, it's the same with caring. It's like, if the slave owner does not care about the slave they're enslaving, does it matter? No.
Have the same.
Yeah.
She's disconnected to it, I suppose. You're on the fence about whether or not that's justified to eat them. Like, what happens to him in order to eat them? Whether it's justified.
No.
not sure if you're asking me or if you're saying that you should say that in outreach, because I agree with you. If you're saying that you should just explain why, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, the thing is pretty straightforward. If you should exploit a human's body, for example, for your own benefit, it makes sense. You shouldn't abuse it. Abuse or use an animal's body, an other animal's body. For you, yeah.
No, I don't think it's justified. I think we should make better attempts to like make it more humane.
Okay.
That's what I think. But
at the moment, you support the inhumane stuff.
Discover the keywords to make your site soar with some.
I don't know if I support it.
I mean, when I say support, I don't mean like go team. I mean like you financially, just like you create the demand through it.
Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to. I do, don't I? Like,
you give them your money. They kill the animals. You give them the money. So you support it in that way.
Yeah. Where I'm from as well, there's like a lot of fox hunting that goes on, and I've seen some.
I feel like he's having good rapport though. Like I feel like this guy is very he's actually thinking about the answers he's giving. He's not going straight into reaction defense. I think that's a good thing.
Brutal, like there's been a fox before running down a train track, and there's loads of dogs.
I struggle with that. I struggle with like keeping the conversation informal. It tends to be a little bit like going through points that I've written on my hand or something. Yeah, because it is, but but I feel it's also because I'm trying to keep it short because sometimes people will just bail on me. But sacrificing the rapport in some sense.
Just charging down, and this fox is trying to climb up this wall. And the dog's just ripping.
You're against that?
Oh yeah, massive.
And why? Why are you against it?
Because I don't think there's no need at all. That's just pure cruelty, in my opinion.
And if I come up and ate the fox, would it be okay?
No.
But I would say it was not needless cruelty. I did it because I wanted to eat the fox.
Do people even eat foxes?
Just a hypothetical. Just trying to figure out, because the reason I'm saying this, just so you're clear, is because I think this is needless cruelty and suffering as well. I asked you why the dog hunting of the fox is wrong, and you said because it's needless cruelty. And then I just added the caveat of eating the fox. So maybe you thought, oh well, now it's not needless, or wait, is it still wrong? Well, yeah, it's still wrong.
Yeah.
So that's why I was trying to make like a little bit of.
Especially with the dogs though, like 10 dogs after one fox. Like, what the hell is that?
Being dropped into a dungeon filled with gas is horrifying too. I mean.
But I didn't know this before. You just told me. Like, I didn't know they got dropped into gas.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I mean, we say that, but we know they're killed for us. And I was that. I mean, I was a freaking ex-vegan, for fuck's sake. I get it, but I knew that they were killed for me. I mean, I knew that they were exploited, even in the case of vegetarianism. We know it, but just we don't think about it.
Oh, I thought they just go to a slaughterhouse.
It doesn't matter how they're killed or how they're like exploded for us,
Trapped in pens and then just get slit.
Okay. What do you think about that then? Do you think that's okay?
I don't think it's okay, but
it's better. Like you can make so we can torture animals more. Like for me, example, I would much rather be shot in the back of the head without, like, we're having this conversation, bang, shoot me in the back of the head. I don't know nothing about it. Than being consciously walked down a kill floor and having my throat slashed, or going into a gas chamber and like struggling and drowning in gas, right? So yeah, there are better ways to be killed, right?
Yeah.
But because there are better ways to kill, does that make killing me okay?
Wow.
For a sandwich, let's just say, like for a burger, like the same way. For hit the macros, you know what I mean? Just to hit them macros.
I do agree with Chist in that sense.
I wish you would. Okay, yeah, I feel like it's important in outreach to not because like people think it's just a diet. So when you take examples, I think it's important to not make it like examples about the diet, like the plant-based diet, because there's many other ways that we exploit animals that people don't think about. But I mean, in that case, it makes sense because they're talking about pigs, right? And hunting, and it's like usually it's for, like eating them or their secretions. Okay, but it could be helpful to say, like, for example, like for a sandwich or for I don't know, a coat, or like just kind of bringing more examples of exploitation that is not just about diet. I think it would be helpful because people just are very much just in that headspace of it's just diet really, it's just about food kind of thing. It's like vegetarianism. It's just about what I'm eating.
And so I don't think humans are the same as animals.
You don't have to say that they're on the same plane, which is what Tristan was like, oh, they're exactly equal. No, they share conscious experience. It might be different, but it's still worth more than our taste buds. You know what I mean?
I saw a fish. Majority of people agree animal abuse is wrong and are against needlessly killing animals for pleasure. So isn't it more about aligning their actions with their believed ethics? I don't agree. I don't agree that a lot of people think that, needlessly killing animals for pleasure is wrong. I think some people say that, but I don't think they mean it. But I've heard a lot of people just trying to justify that. I don't think they even think that it's wrong necessarily. Some people might, but I feel like in the case of like when someone says that they really, like they think it's wrong and you really believe them, yeah. But I don't think it's most people, honestly. So it depends, I guess. But again, I feel like it's completely irrelevant. It's not about your values. And when they have values that are very close to veganism, it makes sense to appeal to that. I get that because it's like building a rapport and everything. It's easier. But even if they don't care and it's not about their, like, it's not part of their values. Like it's not close to their values to be vegan. It does not matter. It's not about them. You know what I mean? So even in the case that they wouldn't, like, of course, it doesn't. It's not about your values. But of course, I would. It's understandable you would appeal to those values, but it can be again dangerous because as in the case of like talking about caring, if you appeal to the fact that they care, it could kind of make them think that if they didn't care would be a different thing, like so. It's very helpful, this fish system. By the way, guys, I chose the animal fish because they are in numbers the most exploited animal on the planet. So I think it would be a nice thing to keep in mind as well, because we tend to kind of forget about them in outreach because we often have farmed animals in our head. So it's good to kind of remind ourselves,
Yeah. I don't know.
So, like, shooting a human in the head for a sandwich is wrong, right? Shooting a cow in the head for a sandwich is not wrong? From the cow's position, it's wrong.
Yeah, from the cow's position, yeah.
That's all I give a about.
From my position,
shooting you in the head is not wrong for me. It's wrong for you, which is why it's wrong.
Well, steak's supposed to be a superfood, so I've been told. Like everyone's dribbling on to me in the bodybuilding world. They reckon steak's a proper superfood.
Probably listening to all the.
I think it's great to use laughter in outreach to build rapport. I think it's great, but I also feel like there is this danger of making it seem like it's not as serious as it is. So I'm not sure I would have used laughter in that sense because I get it, it's absurd, so that's why he laughed about it. I'm not saying it's wrong that he did that, but I wouldn't do that because I feel like I just don't want to give this idea that this is not something very serious at the same time. So it's sometimes like I feel like it's like there was this one time in my outreach video with the Christian guy recently where he laughed because he said that I think that he didn't eat much meat or something and he laughed or something, and I on purpose did not laugh with them because I wanted to make it clear that like no, this is not a funny matter, it's not a laughable, like it's not a funny thing, like you were talking about eating cadavers and just like the commodification of animals' bodies and enslavement and stuff, and you were like kind of laughing about it. So I made a point to like kind of stare at him while he was laughing so that he would feel awkward about saying that. But I also understand. This is like I think it has to be on in the right time kind of thing. Well, please try to have a fish at the end, so because I could have not seen that, but it's good that I saw it. So I can see the ones you're addressing to me. Okay, Lucy, have you seen Sentience's video from maybe 5 years ago where he had a debate/interview chat with someone from InfoWars? It's impromptu and on the side of the road, one of the greats. I think I have seen it, but I don't remember it. Sorry, I can't really say much about it because I don't really remember it too much. It was a while ago. Cool. Let's do this.
The carnivore quack clowns.
I don't know who to believe these days, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's
look,
just
all of the good nutritional data points to the more red meat consumption you engage in, so you start seeing like certain cancers or like heart disease risk. There's saturated fat in there, you know what I mean? It raises your blood cholesterol. The carnivore guys are basing their like this red meat being a superfood off of no reliable nutritional data. It's just
I understand why he's appealing to the health thing because this guy is a health nut kind of thing. But I also feel like at some point it's also like validating this excuse because I want my, I want like a big body or something. It's okay to exploit animals. I wish he had said this and also said, but is that an actual good excuse? And you're like, it's not a good justification. I mean, said it better than I'm saying it right now, but yeah, I think it's important to just remind people like it does not matter the excuse you're using. This is not like, no, it does not make it okay if you want to be a bodybuilder or something. Like, there is a way to be a bodybuilder on a plant-based diet, but even so, it's not relevant. Like that you want to exploit animals, so you want a big body, so you want to export more animals for it. Like, okay,
like opinions.
So what's your opinion on milk?
Ethically, it's an abomination the way they obtain it. They rape her in the ass with an arm to hold the cervix through the anal lining, and then they shove semen that they wanked off out of a bull into her to impregnate her, right?
Yeah.
Full bestiality, right? She has a 9-month pregnancy and they take her calves away. The males don't produce milk, so they're not useful.
In this instance, I think it's important to describe it because it can help people understand how it is really commodification and using them, and it's just horrific, of course, but like, especially because there is like this way of using their bodies is the way that is always, I mean, it's always the way that is used, you know what I mean? Like, so I think in that sense it's great. But also you could just go with like, well, you're stealing their breast milk and stuff, so it doesn't, if I don't know. I think it's great. Anyway.
So they get slaughtered, young, 2 weeks old, whatever. Get rid of them. They might go to veal, some might go to beef, but they're slaughtered. The females, they get imprisoned in little hutches. They get grown to be used in the same way. So that keeps the milk flowing, right?
Yeah.
And they do that for about 4 or 5 cycles until she can't get pregnant anymore.
Yeah.
She goes to get minced up into burgers, right? That's the dairy industry.
Okay, yeah.
And there's a lot of suffering and welfare issues. The maternal trauma, being separated from calf to mother is one. Lameness, mastitis, mutilations. They cut their horns off and they can drop down. Then they'll just forklift them out, take it to slaughterhouse. Like, it's just a up industry.
I know there's a lot of bodybuilders by me. There's a farm that like it's illegal, isn't it? But like they get raw milk. So
okay.
Yeah. So like
I've seen a few people.
Yeah, the dispensaries at the farms.
Look, I mean, the dairy industry is a moral abomination. I don't think you need dairy milk. I mean, plant protein has better health outcomes than dairy protein, but dairy's an abomination. Even if they're like dairy's a healthier food than red meat, but it's just an abomination,
So
needless.
It does clog my stomach, though, whole milk. I find that if I have a lot of it, it will clog.
Why would you want milk? Why do you need milk anyway? Put it in cereal.
Easy calories, to be honest. That's the main reason. Easy calories. I'm a big drinker, so like pints of milk.
So do you use smoothies and that?
I use not so much anymore. I used to.
Pints
I just
of
drink it, pints of milk.
Ugh, yuck. To me, it tastes like spew now.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to think that's for a baby cow. Like, is it justified?
I wish he would focus on the why way more because I feel like if the guy gets the why, gets that there's no excuse for exploiting animals, like he will figure it out on his own. Like you don't have to. It's kind of infantilizing in a sense. I get why he does it, but I think it's unnecessary, and I feel like we're kind of missing the point. Like this is not about this. It doesn't matter that you don't know yet how to do that. You can figure it out later. You just Google it. It's very easy. But the thing that it's very important to communicate right now is that it's just wrong to use animals, just as it's wrong to use humans, So also it's like you gotta get like, as a vegan activist, you don't have to be a freaking expert on health or the environment and all these benefits from a plant-based diet or plant-based lifestyle, whatever it is, like it's you just have to know like the strongest evidence for plant-based diets, plant-based diets being healthy for like just pregnant women and athletes, and you need to know that it's usually better for the environment. That's all you need really, and of course like it's good if you can cite stuff, but that's all you really need to know. It's great if you know more, of course, but like then if you go into rabbit holes like that, I think it's a waste of time. And it's taking the focus of the victims, even if it's understandable, but I don't think it's a good idea.
Like the dairy industry, so we can drink their baby's milk, stolen baby's milk, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you believe. Probably don't believe in anything like karma, or you don't have any religious connotations or anything.
A little, but
what stops you from doing something bad?
I don't feel good if I do bad things. I don't feel
conscience.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel good when I do good things.
Pretty simple, eh?
Yeah.
I feel like I want to be principled, and I don't think they deserve it. It's like evil, you know what I mean? And it's a consumer demand thing. The more that's demanded, the more children get up from it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So in the same way, like this here, I see it as like, obviously it's different. The reasons are different. We're doing it for food and sustenance, whatever, taste, whatever. But it's just like as evil to buy this product in terms of like amount of suffering, killing, murder, as it is to buy something like that.
Yeah.
And all the only thing can stop you is your conscience, right?
It is, yeah.
Probably get your macros pretty easily as a vegan if you it might be a little bit of tough.
Maybe, yeah, I'll have to do a bit of research on it.
Because it seems to me like you're the type of person who spends a bit of time managing their diet anyway.
I would give it a go. Like I'm not a person that's like, no, I'll never try it. So I would give it a go there,
but you agree it's wrong to these industries are bad.
Yeah, overall, yeah, I'll say the.
Guys, I'm sorry, I need to go to the restroom and get some water. I'll be right back. Please have fun in the comment section. I'm back. Ooh, 17 new comments. Whoa. And remember, guys, if you have any questions or anything you want me to read, put a fish at the end so I can see it.
Pretty bad, yeah. Overall.
And best case scenario, do you think that's bad?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think of the best case scenario. There's a cow there, liking their life, chilling, and you walk up and slash their head off.
Yeah.
Eat their body.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't as much about the killing as well. Like, it's not about the killing, it's about using them and exploiting them. Yeah, it's wrong to kill an animal for your own benefit, but it's not the only problem, you know? There's many instances where we use animals and we never kill them, kind of thing. So
if I see it more in real life, like I'd have a different opinion, but it's like I'm a bit blind to it all.
Yeah, disconnected, man. You just go in the store and you buy it, you don't see it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
The amount of calories you're eating, like you're contributing a little extra than your average person actually to the supply chain.
Yeah.
Need a little extra meat. Need a little extra animals being killed.
There's kids on the farm. They're like just been breaking chickens' necks from a little kid. Like just think nothing of it.
No, I don't. Actually, it's illegal for me right now. In the future, I plan on it, but like I'm an immigrant, so I'm not allowed to receive any payment for anything. So, but thank you for asking. It's very sweet of you.
Yeah,
just like it's drinking water.
Some people can kill people.
And please, guys, try to focus a little bit on like the videos we're reviewing, because I want to also know like your ideas and your thoughts on his outreach, because the point is to really get better at this together.
I think nothing of it, like it's drinking water.
Yeah.
Some gangsters I know used to know just stick a knife into you and walk off and think nothing of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't change the ethics of the action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I get it. A lot of people disconnected. A lot of people are conditioned to violence. Some people don't care, like Tristan doesn't. You care. If you feel bad when you do bad things and good when you do good things, maybe if you've seen a little bit, like watch that Land of Hope and Glory start to finish, and think I can build my muscle without the bodies of animals who had suffered for it, or been murdered for it. Like I can build a whole body and feel good about that I haven't caused the wake of destruction in its path.
Yeah, I might give it a go, but I need to know more about being a vegan, to be honest, like the meals and whatever. Yeah.
Check out Brian Turner.
Brian Turner, yeah.
Or Nimar Delgado.
Why?
I mean, it's going really well, this conversation, honestly. I feel like he's the kind of person who's not straight into like fight or flight mode. He's not super defensive. These are really like a breath of fresh air, honestly, because I mean, I personally I start with the slavery thing, and so often people get triggered and defensive because it's so heavy, you know, the animal slavery, human slavery comparison. Um, but sometimes it happens like this, and they're just not so defensive, which is nice.
Are they good chefs? Vegan
No, they're
chefs? Right?
vegan bodybuilders.
Oh, are they? Yeah.
Yeah, or hench herbivore.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's doable, mate.
Yeah.
Like you already look for. You're already making a little bit of an effort there.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I can do it, anyone can do it, bro. I come from no education, and I can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I can get my 160 grams. I can do 2,000 calories when I'm cutting, and then whatever, man. I can find protein sources everywhere. TVP is a good one. You can bring it in a bag dry, and you can.
You're too committed.
Yeah.
Not too committed, but proper committed.
I don't bring it around with me when I'm traveling. We just get Uber Eats, or we go to Tesco, or we use an app called Happy Cow, and we find vegan restaurants around.
Yeah.
Or vegan options, like vegan options
really?
everywhere, bro. On this street alone, there's about 10. Like, you know, Burger King.
What do you guys think about like saying vegan options, for example, of vegan food or plant-based food? I try to stick to fully plant-based food so that people know that it's not like just a little plant-based kind of thing. It's fully plant-based. And I don't like saying vegan because then they relate that to veganism is a diet. But I understand also wanting to say vegan because that way you're sure that like the person knows that there is no animal secretions or bodies in the food. So let me know what you think about that.
McDonald's have vegan options. You can get extra patties on the McPlant.
I find it a bit strange though with vegans, like they go vegan for health reasons and then eat like processed, like the McPlant burger, for example.
Your health.
That's what happens when you're taught that veganism is a diet.
You're concerned.
I not know, but like
It's for health.
when people say they're doing it for health
You
reasons,
can't go to vegan for health reasons. You can only go vegan for ethics.
yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. But you should look after your health. But all processed food is bad. Meat or
100%.
vegan, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people they just generally want to be healthy and they want to have a burger. And at least the options there, so they don't get the decapitated animal burger. You know. But yeah.
I try to differentiate the terms plant-based from veganism. One is a diet, the other an ethical philosophy. Exactly, same here. Yep. Exactly, that's awesome. I love that. I need to remember that. That's a great thing to say, for sure.
Oh,
Good talking to you, brother.
Yes, and you, mate. And you.
Thanks for the chat. Appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's up to you now. Only you and your conscience. Do as thou wilt, but you will be judged by the conscience god. By the vegan gods.
Vegan gods.
On you, brother.
Yeah, at the end, like I'm kind of rethinking my way of ending it. I'm trying to say like just get some either a question or like a sentence that really holds them accountable, like in a very harsh way, because it's the last thing that I want them, you know, to keep in mind. But I'm not exactly sure what I want to do in the future. Yeah. Well, yeah, but again, that like, you know, that doesn't really have anything to do with veganism, but of course health is important, especially because like for example, as an activist, I think it's important to look healthy or to try to be healthy because people think still that it's a diet and they think that plant-based diets, like people on plant-based diets and vegans, whatever, are pale and skinny or whatever, and that doesn't help. You know, it's not about that, but they don't know. And they don't know that really. Anyways, whatever. So yeah, I agree. Anyways, thank you, Joey, for all the work you do, even if I may not agree with the way of going about it necessarily. Okay, so this was the first one. Any thoughts on this, guys? We're gonna go to the second one. Hopefully we get to them quicker than this, because all right, so let me know if you have thoughts on that, but also and put a fish at the end so that I can see it. And yeah, so pick a number between 1 and 4 for the next video. I think this was different from many other Joey's videos. It wasn't very representative, I believe. Fair enough. Yeah, well, you know, if it's not representative, then it's good to keep in mind. Okay, 2. That's just one person. Okay, 2. Okay, a number between 1 and 4. You have to meet people where they are at. If you're talking to a jacked tradie, you have to tradie, I don't know, you have to have some focus on how it's no issue to get your protein and so on. I talk to truck drivers, so yeah, absolutely. You have to address it. You have to help them, but I think it's important to center the veganism aspect, like in center the fact that it doesn't really matter if they care or whatever, and that it's not a good excuse. But you should help them and address it, but like not make it the center, you know, I think. Okay, so we have a lot of 2s. Yeah, I should make a poll, but I don't know how. So sorry about that, guys. I should learn how to do. Well, thank you for being here. Sorry for the bad time zone stuff. Hope to see you next time. Have a good night. Okay, hold on. There's a question. I'm only 1.5 years going vegan. I still have items before going vegan. I like my Italian couch. I don't purchase leather anymore, but what about keeping what I already had? That's a good question. I actually had this thing recently where I discovered I had like things from my sisters that had wool in them. What I mean, it's still using animals, and you know, like it's still. Look, the problem is that the mentality is that this animal is still a commodity to be used, so it's a problem to use these things. Of course, you might not be adding to the demand, but it's still reinforcing this mentality. And when you know, like it's especially worse if someone else knows that this is, for example, wool, or if it's leather, stuff like that. I think that vegans should just get rid of the stuff because these are not like, if you knew that you haven't had an object that was made out of human skin or had human teeth, would you? I mean, we probably would want it to be in a museum because it's probably something crazy. But you know, would you be okay with it being like something you use? I don't think so. So you know, it's a good question. I get it, but I think you should get rid of it. Hopefully, you can find a secondhand one, something. But I get it. Like it's usually a transition that's not overnight for most people, but still, totally agree. Exactly. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. Yep. It's also difficult to remove an entire couch. Yeah. Okay. So guys, I think the second one won. So the second one is okay. The next big one. We don't only have big people on the list tonight. We have like smaller channels of outreachers. But this is the one that you guys chose. Hold on, let me. Okay. This one I've been meaning to watch, but I was procrastinating for the reasons I already talked about earlier.
I sometimes feel this way, that I only ever eat chicken. I only started eating chicken 2 years ago, right? And there's like 1,000 other types of food that I will most likely never get to eat. I think a majority of the food, right? Seafood, literally every type of meat. And sometimes I wonder, I'm missing out on so much.
Hey everyone, it's that time again.
it's starting so badly.
Again, where I get to tell you all about the intuitive, fun, and interactive learning platform Brilliant, who is sponsoring today's video. Now, Brilliant works with award-winning academics and professionals to create visual, stimulating, and engaging courses and lessons. Nick, nice to meet you. My name is Ed, and today I'm at Harvard University, and I have a banner that says, "Give me your best argument for not being vegan." You've kindly waited, you've very kindly sat down, so now's the chance to tell me, what is your best argument for not being vegan?
Yeah, I guess I want to hear first from you, what is your argument for being vegan?
Okay, yeah. Fundamentally, for me, there are bonuses to being vegan, environmental bonuses, even some health bonuses. But fundamentally, the reason why I did it was because eating plants is the best way that I can reduce suffering with the dietary choices that I have. It's not perfect. It's not the...
I get it. But that's really, really problematic. As we already talked about, it's really a problem to talk about suffering and making it about suffering because, I mean, so many reasons. Like, there's plenty of forms of exploitation that do not involve suffering and it's still wrong. And also, like, there are things that obviously there are vegans that may cause more suffering than, I don't know, actually. It depends on what, but hypothetically, there could be a vegan that would cause more suffering than a non-vegan if the non-vegan was very low impact environmentally or something like that, or they ate very little or something like that. I don't know. It's an hypothetical. I'm not sure that's actually what is true, but I think it's possible. So even in that sense, it's just not relevant, really. It's not about that. Even if it makes sense that it would be a motivator, because it's true that most of the time vegans cause way less suffering, but it's not about that. You're still gonna cause suffering anyways, but it's not even about reducing suffering. It's about not exploiting others and using them, should watch that probably next time, maybe. Oh, that's very long though. That's good. All right.
It isn't devoid of harm and suffering, but between choosing plants and choosing animals, choosing plants reduces the harm that my food choices cause. What do you think?
Yeah, I was vegetarian until I was 17.
Yeah.
Kind of like family choices. Then I started eating chicken just because thought it would taste good, protein, all that.
Yeah.
I think probably my best argument is that, big companies don't want to have to take the responsibility of saving the environment, so they make it seem like it's the individual's responsibility.
Sure.
And so, I don't know.
Oh. Sure. Sure, it is relevant. You're right. It's relevant, but it's not it's relevant in the sense that it matters in the scheme of things, but it's not relevant really. I don't really agree that it's relevant to veganism too much, because it's if there is no suffering in a type of exploitation, it's still not vegan. You know what I mean? But I understand what you mean. It matters, but yeah. We care about human suffering, but humans have rights, animals' rights. Yeah, you're talking about not making it about veganism is not. I mean, I think I'm understanding you well. It's not veganism is not about suffering in general. It's not about all types of suffering or whatever. It's just about animals and animal suffering. I think that's what you mean. But as I said, I don't really agree with that too much.
I don't know if that directly translates to veganism. I feel like veganism is one of those things that you can just do, and it's probably beneficial for you and beneficial. It's something you can do to save things. But I think that would probably be my best argument, that this tiny change you're making won't actually impact anything in the long term. So I guess even
this triggers me so much. It's so annoying, and that is actually one of the reasons that I was an ex-plant-based person. It's feeling like it's futile. It's the ones who get how horrific it is will, and actually thinking about the victims, will know that even if it is you feel like a tiny, you have a tiny impact, it's still not okay for you to do it. For the victims, like it doesn't make it okay, even if it's just like, for example, there's always going to be murders, there's always going to be rapes. It doesn't make it okay because it's always going to happen that you would do that. You still have to be held accountable because you're a part of the problem. And it's really disgusting. I feel like this mentality of like, I'm only one person kind of thing. Like if people would just zoom out and just look at the world objectively, like that's everybody. This is why we have a world like this. It's because no one's taking responsibility for their own freaking impact, you know? And it's very, it triggers me. Yeah, it's disgusting mindset, really. It's understandable, but when you use that as a justification for hurting or exploiting others, it's really disgusting when you think about it. It's very, I so relate to that. I mean, I love their passion and I love their dedication, and I'm grateful that they're activists. But I don't agree with a lot of what they're doing, and actually used to very much more agree with them than now. So I totally agree. Thank you. It's very sweet. Okay.
If it's good for your ethics wise, it's more corporate propaganda to make you think you're doing something to save the environment.
But what if everyone says that?
Then yeah, nothing would ever change.
Obviously, I think it's good to separate the environmental aspect and the animal ethics aspect, but both are kind of similar in this regard. Sure, as an individual, you and I
really appreciate that he showed the problem with his reasoning in a very succinct manner, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. I think it's a great way to, like, I hope I remember that if that happens to me.
are not going to rid all of the problems related to agriculture by being vegan, just us as individuals. That's not going to happen. But if everyone says that, nothing changes. And whilst you and I on our own aren't going to, you and I in amongst lots of other people who are, or who also make the same changes, then we do start to create meaningful impact.
I struggle with separating abuse suffering from exploitation. I consider exploitation the abuse suffered for personal gain. I'm trying to understand better. I agree, and will give couch away in 60 days. Good on you. I know this is not a comfortable situation with the couch thing, but yeah, I understand that. I had a hard time. I mean, a hard time. It took some explaining for me to understand why, like it was a different thing because it's linked to the kind of thing. But the thing is that, like, I mean, a way to really understand it well is that, like, for example, backyard hens, still exploitation. You're using their bodies, for your own benefit, and it may not cause suffering for the hen necessarily. It might or it might not. That's not the point. You know what I mean? So that's why it's different. Like, it's not necessarily going to cause suffering. It is abuse because you're using someone else as a commodity is abuse. Does that help? Let me know if it doesn't, because I'm not exactly sure I answered that well, but I understand that though. Yeah. His approach, I'm not exactly sure I know what you mean by his approach. But if you'd like to explain what his approach, like what you mean by what's good about his approach, because I'm not exactly sure I know specifically. But yeah, I agree with the abuse thing.
Impact. So it's a process, and I think it's about being empowered to recognize that we as individuals have a responsibility to be a part of something bigger than just us, and that can be as simple as just choosing plants in this particular context. What do you think?
I don't like the way of putting it, because like what he's saying is like being part of something bigger than ourselves. I get it, but it sounds to me more like activism than it sounds like a moral obligation. It sounds more like moral virtue. It sounds like a moral obligation, meaning like it's not about you becoming an activist or trying to make things better. It's about you not being actually the problem and doing something that's not okay in the first place,
I never thought as a pediatrician that I would be at all useful in a war. My name is Seema Jalani.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think that like I think that it would 100% work.
Oh, you're referring to Paul Bashir, sorry. Okay. If you exploit the body parts of an animal that already died, it's still exploitation, although you didn't kill the animal and didn't cause suffering. Exactly, yeah. Exploitation is using someone else for your own benefit. So, yep.
When people decide as a collective to decide being vegan, it would definitely have enough movement. I know for a fact that I've read before that veganism, if everybody were to stop eating beef, like we could reduce something like 25%. I don't know the exact statistic. I'm sure you probably know, but reduce something like 25% of emissions because of how much cows fart or whatever.
Yeah, it's actually cow burping is.
Yeah.
But in the US, a switch to a plant-based diet could reduce agricultural emissions by as much as 73%.
70%.
Yeah, so pretty substantial.
Everybody switched to a
plant-based diet. Yeah.
So I think that's one where my argument for like individual change wouldn't really do anything. I feel like that defeats it, right? Because if we all change as a collective.
Yeah.
So I guess then the argument for me would become that it would work in a world where individuals would actually form a collective. Yeah. But like when we struggle to form a collective around something even as basic as like worker rights or like supporting a union, I highly doubt that like in a perfect world, I would 100% agree with you. Yeah. But I just don't think it'll ever happen in our world where barely anybody's going to change their mind. I feel like you even being here, I'm sure you probably already met a lot of people who have like said that they would be vegan, sure. But I'm sure they've also probably met a lot of people who are like, yeah, this is never going to happen for me. And like, I guess even if, you can convince the reasonable people to go vegan, I don't think that the collective is ever going to happen. So I guess for me, it's more just like a probability thing that there's more important things to focus on in terms of both environment. I guess I'm kind of disregarding the animal ethics part, but just talking about the environment part now.
I just hate that mentality so much. And this is why we have a world like this, because no one's taking responsibility for their own part. I mean, yeah, there's always going to be people like outside of your control. All vegan activists and vegans know that very well, but no excuse for you doing it as well. Like it's not an excuse. It doesn't matter if you feel powerless about it changing. It doesn't make it okay for you to do it too. You know what I mean? Like it's a very understandable feeling, but I think it's very dishonest in his case. So it's pissing me off. Because like when people like us care and we feel powerless, like it's annoying when someone uses that as a justification to not be vegan.
Yeah, for now. I guess just in terms of the environment, I think there's better approaches that probably involve more rallying people to hate companies. Like I feel like we would probably get a lot more done in terms of climate change if we just convinced everybody that we need to kill Exxon.
What's more likely to happen? You taking responsibility, and what do you have actually more control over? Do you have more control over you taking your own responsibility, doing your own part, and then doing some activism to be against companies? Or do you have more control over the companies? Companies are probably not going to change. They really don't care. And they're like, there's just all about profit usually. Not all of them, but like a lot of them. Like it's just, and you know what companies are thinking? Well, people are more likely to buy these products if it's actual animal products or if it's tested on animals or anything. So we're going to do that. Oh, everybody's deferring responsibility to the next person.
Rather than everybody should go vegan. I feel like that would be easier. We could do both. Yeah.
And I think the thing about mobilization is true, but the thing about veganism is we don't have to get people to mobilize, because all we have to do is get people within their own life to buy plants, and that forms a collective decision making, or it shapes collective decision making, but it doesn't require any mass mobilization. But what we need is just people eating plants.
Yeah.
And that doesn't require that extra
I wish he wasn't focused so much on the diet as well. Like, I get why people focus on the diet, because it's like such a huge portion of animal exploitation that people, like the most exploitation people support is through diet, but it's not the only way, like it's not the only way they do. They go to zoos, they buy products tested on animals, things like this. So they ride horses. I wish he just said maybe that, like it's a big portion of what animal exploitation is, animal agriculture, but it's a part of it. It's not all that it is, because the guy doesn't know. You have to clarify that.
that extra hardship of making people come together, which makes it a little bit easier. But we can do both. You know, we can eat plants, but also mobilize to hold Chevron and Exxon and these huge, you know, carbon emitting, environmentally destructive corporations. We can hold them accountable and be vegan at the same time. And I think, as you said before, you used that word, reasonable people. And I guess the question is, do you...
When I say we should do that, I'm not saying like vegan activists should be, for example, environmental activists as well or something like that. I'm saying that as a collective, yes, we should hold them accountable at the same time as doing the thing, but not everybody is going to be an activist for everything, of course. Like, and just by being a vegan activist, you actually have a good impact on the environment. So that's a benefit from it, I guess.
Consider yourself to be a reasonable person?
Yeah, I think I consider myself to be a reasonable person. I think that like if I knew that I could make a change in doing something, I would definitely.
Very good point. I love that. You need to remember that. I love that. That's very good.
Definitely do it.
Do you think you can make a change with this?
No, I think that I definitely agree with everything you said so far, but I still think that for me personally, let's say I were to go vegan, I think it would benefit the world, yeah. But I'm also not the type of person to like tell my friends, for example. I would never be the person to like be the first one to try and convince others to do it, just because I'm a little bit averse to like weird social, you know.
I mean, he says that because I was the shy kid in school. I never thought I would either. Well, Paul Bashir is awesome then. I mean, I follow him as well, but like this is a great thing.
No, contact. It would be hard for me, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who would, but for me, I don't think I would.
Just live in principle with what you agree with, and then maybe.
It's annoying that it's always centered around the person, you know, like what you agree with. It doesn't matter if you don't agree with it. It's like it's just making them realize that it's just not okay that you do it. However way you feel about it does not matter, you know. But like, yeah, I agree. Like, it's like we're not trying to make you an activist. Like, I feel like vegans should all be activists, but like, it's not the moral obligation to be an activist. Even if I feel like we should all do it, like, but being vegan is.
Maybe you'll influence people just through being a certain way, you know, in a positive manner, of course. And you don't have to have conversations if you don't want to. But what I would say is, if we don't do it now, then that reduces the likelihood that the positives of making changes, you know, we'll actually see those positives. And I suppose it's almost an appeal to futility where we're saying, well, because it might not happen, then that means we shouldn't try. But there's also every possibility that it might happen, especially things like lab-grown meat and this awareness that is growing. I think that we will see changes. And we don't have to convince everyone. We just have to convince enough.
I get why he brings up lab-grown meat, but I'm against lab-grown meat. Like, people don't even trust freaking lentils or bananas. They're not gonna trust lab-grown meat. They're not, like, it's not gonna help. For the people who are not willing to go plant-based, they're not gonna like go with like a lab-grown flesh thing. And it's still reinforcing the resource status of animals, because we're still exploiting animals for the cells we need from them until we don't need these cells anymore. Like, still like normalizing the idea that animal flesh is food, for example. Like, there's so many issues with that. Well, I wouldn't say it's a moral obligation to view them a certain way, because it doesn't really matter. If, for example, if you view women as, I don't know, resources for you, whatever it is, I don't think that it matters. I mean, it matters because that's the root of the problem, but I don't think it's necessarily a moral obligation to not view them like that. Maybe it is a moral obligation, but I feel like what is sure to be a moral obligation is just to not treat them as resources, you know? I'm not sure about my view on that, but yeah.
Enough people so these changes start to occur more rapidly. But let's take it away from environmentalism just a little bit, because I'm interested in animals and animal ethics and what we do to animals. And I suppose you could apply.
I hate when I don't actually use moral, like the word morality or wrong, as much as I can avoid it. and ethics, because it makes it seem like this philosophical debate when really it's just very concrete. Like people tend to when they see it as a philosophical debate, because in some degree it is, but they see it as like a conceptual thing with no real consequences, no real victims to it. And it's a really, really bad mindset to be in this conversation. You want them to connect with the actual victims as much as possible. And with the fact that this is really like very serious thing to not be vegan in the real world, like, you know, and just as you wouldn't say that being anti-slavery is I don't know, having a philosophical stance. I guess it is a philosophical stance in some sense, but it's like it's very freaking obvious. It's very straightforward. You don't have to be like thinking about it that much. It is very straightforward. So, and also it makes it seem like it's a subjective stance or something. Like morality is subjective thing, something, or like if you think enslaving someone else is okay, then whatever, just do you kind of thing, you know. When it's when there's a victim like this, it's not subjective, it's objective. That's wrong because of the victim's point of view, you know. So yeah. When you think of vegans, you think it's okay that vegans eat our survivals. They're not vegan. Well, I guess he answered it perfectly. They think they're vegan, but they don't understand what veganism is. They're utilitarians, exactly.
And maybe some of the same arguments about, well, I'm an individualist, I'm not going to stop all animal suffering by not being vegan, and maybe that's the line we go down. But I'm interested to know if you think that issues of morality and ethics are different to issues of environmentalism when it comes to personal obligation.
زي ما شفتم قصف هي قاعدين بيقصفوا احنا هلا.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those ones where I don't have like a defined, concrete answer because I just don't know enough myself yet. Like, I guess I obviously have seen all the videos of like the terrible things they do at chicken farms and like the terrible things they have at factory farms. Yeah. But I don't want to just repeat the entire thing about like I can't make a difference because that won't be interesting. I think rather my take.
The moral issue is that they're sentient. Yeah. Oops. Yep. All of that.
Take would be that if we consider like the entire world as levels of like species, right? Obviously you have humans at the top of the food chain and everybody else. Yeah. It's kind of like stratified, right? Humans get to experience so much more than animals ever get to experience, right? If you're like an animal living in the wild, you only ever get to experience.
What do you know? What the hell do you know if they do or not? Like, seriously, are we saying like scientists now saying that? I mean, just because we might be more skilled in, like, for example, we might be more intelligent in some ways, doesn't mean we experience life like more fully than an animal would. Like, we're sentient, both of us are sentient. They feel pain, they feel joy, emotions, like happiness, whatever. Like, some of them are social species, some of them are not social species, whatever. But they, like, it's just you're using your one criteria for your species and you're transposing that to other species that have evolved in a different way for their different environment. You're using that trait that made you survive and made you thrive, or evolve or survive, and using it against them when they didn't need that trait to survive or to be like reproduce or whatever, to be here or to evolve in that way, whatever. It's like a cat species. Like I talked about that in my podcast about the last one about the dreaded comparison. Like it's like a cat. It's actually this is a metaphor by the author, who is Marjorie Spiegel. She says that it's like a cat species saying that, you know, the only way to live a life fully, for example, it's not exactly the comparison like the metaphor she uses, but it's similar, is to be able to hunt, like cats hunt, or like see in the dark, because most humans cannot see in the dark. Cats can, and so if you're not able to see in the dark, you don't live life fully or something. Like, it's very strange. It's just there's different experiences, but that doesn't mean that one is more valuable than the other. Like, both beings are sentient, both want to live, whatever. Like, you just leave them alone. That's all. I mean, like, you're not like, it's not okay for you to evaluate someone else's life value so that you can justify that to exploit one of them, you know. It's very strange. Anyways,
It's like mating, hunting, and then dying, probably in some predator eats you. Right? Humans get to experience so much more. Like, we have culture and technology and all that. And I guess my take would be that
you can say that, but like, what if it's just a different experience for a different species? Like, we don't know. They, like, some species can hear way more than us. Some species can see way more than us. Some species are way more connected socially and way more harmonious socially than we are. We're not the ones who should be judging another species' life value. Like, we have no idea. And also, it's always a very self-centered view of their, like, it's always comparing their life to our own, and it's completely irrelevant what you think their life value is. Like, it's, oh my god, that guy's irritating to me.
humans deserve being, I don't know what deserve actually means, but like, humans deserve more. Like, humans have evolved to like have more experience, more things they can do. Like, I can go to any country in the world, I can try any food, and that would lead me into the trying any food. It might seem very corny, but like, my take would be that humans, because we've done so much to get us to the point where we can do anything. I sometimes feel this way, that I only ever eat chicken. I only started eating chicken 2 years ago, right? And there's like 1,000 other types of food that I will most likely never get to eat. I think a majority of the food, right? Seafood, literally every type of meat. And sometimes I wonder, I'm missing out on so much, and I probably will never try those things because it's just kind of scary. I think that's kind of where I'm going with this, that if we have to decide that there's somebody at the top of the food chain, clearly it's humans. Maybe someday aliens will come down and we'll no longer be the top. But for now, we're the top.
This is the type of person that during like chattel slavery would have been like, let's just use the hell of black people because it helps us. We are like on top of the human power pyramid, whatever it is. Like, let's just take advantage of them as much as we can. It's good for the economy. I don't really care, whatever. I don't want to miss out on experiences because then I have to take care of I have to pay more money because I actually have to pay my workers, stuff like this. Like, this is the type of person.
But does that mean that animals deserve to be killed for us?
I don't think it means they deserve to be killed, but if that's the way it is for humans to have to experience things that otherwise they would not be able to, I think it's okay. And the reason I would say it's okay is because at some point we have to decide, like...
Says the oppressor. I think it's okay. I think it's okay to enslave black people or to enslave animals because I'm not them and I benefit from that, so...
How much value do we assign to the conscience of an animal versus how much value do we assign to the conscience of a human? Right. And that's how I'd go with that. Yeah.
Fair enough. But does that mean that anything is justified to an animal as long as there is a human experience at the end of it?
In my personal value system, yes.
Okay. And what about raping an animal?
I guess it would come down to the pain thing as well. I'm not sure how much pain happens in these factory farms. Obviously, I've seen the videos, but I don't know.
It's a lot, probably.
It's probably a lot. Obviously, you said raping, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that we should rape animals, no.
But what about for human experience? You'll never get to experience it.
See, okay, that would, okay, I get what you mean. And like you're saying, like, okay, what if I wanted to, like, what if humans wanted to rape other humans, right? But I think that...
Or other animals.
Other animals.
It's to experience it.
Right.
It would be a shame if they didn't get to experience all these things they could experience.
But I guess that's why I'd say that humans have more, like, value to their conscience. Okay. Humans have more value to their life than I would assign to animals. And that's just my arbitrary value, right?
So we can't rape them.
So you see that it's your arbitrary value, but then you don't see that makes it completely obsolete. Like, not obsolete, but like it makes it irrelevant. I just don't understand.
For the human experience.
You got me there. I'm trying to think.
Got it right back. I'm not sure.
right?
It would be a shame if they didn't get to experience all these things they could experience.
But I guess that's why I'd say that humans have more like value to their conscience. Humans have more value to their life than I would assign to animals. And that's just my arbitrary value, right?
So we can rape an animal for the human experience.
I have to remember the raping thing, because that is a very obvious way to exploit an animal, because that's exploitation too. So
You got me there. I'm trying to think. Honestly, okay, this is gonna be weird, right? I feel weird talking about this in front of everybody, but first week that I came here last year, in freshman year, the first thing me and my roommates talked about was it's like one of those standard 4chan arguments. It's like, would humans rape each other if there was no such thing as societal construct?
Sure.
Right? And I came in with the pre-assumed notion that of course we would. Like, there's nothing to stop like any man from like having that desire if there's no such thing as societal constructs to hold you back. And I got convinced by the fact that one of my friends had this argument that no animal naturally rapes each other and they don't have societal.
what about empathy? Like, some of us are not completely messed up in the head, and we actually don't need. So, I mean, yes, it does do a lot actually, societal, societal constructs or whatever. Like, morality in society does a lot for a social species like us. But I mean, come on, like, it's not because, for example, like, it's not because most people are not vegan that you should like. That means that it's okay for you not to be a vegan. Or if most, like, for example, in Nazi Germany, if you were like an SS, like you were actually high in the, like, it was. I mean, I guess that was not most people, but most people at some point were supporting the Nazi regime, right? I mean, yes, it's a very big deal for humans because we're a social species. So naturally, we will go with the group, but that doesn't mean that we have no say over that. Like, we can be more conscious over it, what I mean?
Constructs. Not like we searched it up, and obviously there's not much data on it. Like, you can't really search up animals rape each other, right? It's not one of those things that comes up. But I was convinced by that fact that, like, if animals don't naturally rape each other, what's different with humans?
Rape is natural. Like, humans rape each other naturally. There are species that rape each other. Yes, that's a thing.
And I guess at that point,
like, animals are not necessarily like, having consensual sex necessarily. Like, I mean, like, it's like humans is just one animal amongst many, right? But like,
I'd say that even though it's part of the experience, because like societal constructs exist to prevent us from raping, I guess that's just one of those things that would not be included in the things I want to experience, like eating meat.
But what if you did?
I was focusing on the guy because it triggered me, but really, like, I feel like Ed is doing a good job with cornering him right there.
Did want to.
I'm sorry.
Meet Goodfellas
Talk so
Pizza.
much more.
They use SEMrush to attract local customers. Now they can dominate local
included in the things I want to experience, like eating meat.
But what if you did want to?
I don't know. I guess I just don't want to, so I don't know how to answer the question.
But maybe not you, because I guess the question isn't whether you want to, but whether if someone else wanted to, would that be morally wrong?
Yes, I want to say it's morally wrong.
Why?
Because it goes against societal constructs.
But is what is moral and immoral based purely on societal constructs?
What if it was fine in your society? Would it be okay then?
I guess no. I guess it's also based on what you as a human want to believe is right and wrong.
So why do
Sure, but it's also like, what about the victim in there? It's always so self-centered.
you think it's wrong?
Because I've been told for my entire life that it's wrong.
Is that the only reason?
I don't know, because I've never had to think about it before. But if I had to think about it from like a human perspective, I'd say it's because everybody's told me it's wrong, and that I know it would cause pain on the human.
But I'm talking about raping an animal.
So like
trying to just get out of, like, I get it, it's part of it, but like it's not the only part of it. Like, it's trying desperately to not go into the animal's perspective.
Human would get enjoyment, but the animal wouldn't. I guess I would start to think. I guess I would try to think of everything as like an equation, right? Like, and the equation of like human raping another human is kind of simple. It's like, yeah, rapist probably gets enjoyment, right? But the rapee definitely are getting much more in terms of like pain times time experience is probably greater than whatever they get.
The suffering is higher than the exactly.
Whereas in an animal, it all just goes back to how much I would value an animal, and it's like, yeah, they definitely would experience. Actually, I don't know, but like, let's say they experience pain times the value that they like, however long they have it for. If a human gets X enjoyment, I'm gonna say that their Y pain is less than the value I would assign to humans' enjoyment.
The problem with that though is if we take that argument and we apply it back to the human rape scenario, you'll say that the only reason that that's wrong is because the suffering is higher than the pleasure in that scenario.
Yeah, utilitarianism versus deontology, huh?
But then what you're saying is it would be justified if there was more pleasure than suffering. Let's say it was 10 people doing it, and that 10 people experiencing that pleasure was viewed as greater than that one person and their suffering. We'd then say it's justified. But we don't think it's actually justified, because what we're more concerned about is the experience of the individual that is negative. So the fact that there is someone suffering is what's important, not the fact that there'll be 10 people who are enjoying it.
It's not only about the suffering, is that they're used as an object. Like there's no consent, for example, and also consent is very blurry when it comes to animals because they can't really consent. Like children, they can communicate it clearly.
And so I think that it's not about suffering versus pleasure in terms of like, if which is 51% versus 49%, but more about whether there's a violation of someone else's autonomy and that their experience is negative. Do you know what does that make sense?
So I guess what you're saying is you assign a violation of someone's autonomy, no matter what, to be much more important than anybody's pleasure.
Don't you when it comes to humans? If it's not consensual sex, it doesn't matter how much pleasure you get out of it. Like the problem is that he says that probably clearly. I mean, I hope so. That's in the case of humans, but for some reason, animals are objects all of a sudden. Like
exactly, in that sense, yes. But you do as well in the situation of that human.
Yeah. So I guess the point you're trying to make is that if I assign it to a human, why do I not assign it to an animal?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you get me there. It's just my arbitrary decision based on the fact that I, some reason, value human enjoyment more than animal enjoyment. But
it's arbitrary, isn't it?
It is arbitrary. It's completely arbitrary. It's just based on like my decision values.
Yes.
So yeah, I think I would give you that one. Definitely win on that one. If we want to consider everybody as equal, and if we want to consider autonomy as most important, which is probably the objectively right opinion, if we consider like what morals should be, then yeah, I would agree with you that it would be unfair.
Sure. So where does that leave you now?
Probably still won't switch to veganism. I think I enjoy the taste of chicken. I like Chick-fil-A.
But does that morally justify what happens to chickens?
No, it does not.
So then how will you morally justify consuming Chick-fil-A?
I wish you wouldn't say morally, because it makes it more like a conceptual thing. It's not like this is not okay. It doesn't have to be morally, but like I get it, like it's what it is. But I think it makes it more distanced if you use the words moral with people in outreach. It's less about their life right now. It's more about a philosophical discussion.
I think I do a lot of morally unjustifiable things other than just eating like meat. And like, sure, I think about them, but at the end of the day, it's also like I kind of want to live my life in a certain way. And
does that mean that someone else can't live their life?
Freaking slave owners.
No.
Rapists, etc.
I don't have anything to say for that. Yeah, I guess I just like it's one of those things. It's like just humans are naturally selfish. No, I'm being naturally.
Shut up! You are selfish.
But you don't use that to justify causing harm in other ways. In other ways, do you?
No.
So why in this way?
It's just arbitrary.
Arbitrary.
Yeah.
A lot of arbitrary.
It's a lot of arbitrary.
A lot of arbitrary. It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, okay. I appreciate you speaking with me now, and I appreciate the honesty, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'd say just give it a go. You've got nothing to lose from trying.
I definitely will try it at some point in my life.
It'll be today. Why not this point in your life?
I could easily do it in a week. I barely even eat the chicken here. It's really bad. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Stop eating the chicken then.
Yeah.
Leave the chickens alone.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah, give it a go. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Have a great life, my friends.
You too. It's great.
I wish he had held him a little bit. Like he held him accountable, but I think it was too soft at the end. I think he did a great job though. I'm not sure if you're talking about mine, but if you're talking about mine, it's gonna be 2 or 3 lives a month, and 2 videos a month, and way more shorts. I'm trying to focus on the shorts because more non-vegans watch my shorts, so that's the goal really. Yeah, because I've noticed it's mostly vegans commenting on the outreach videos, and I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. But it's better if more non-vegans watch my shorts, I think. Okay, so guys, I guess we'll do 1 or 2 more videos depending on how much it takes, but probably just 1 more. So, okay, I'm gonna actually be partial. I had 3 videos I wanted to review, but I didn't know how long it was gonna take, and it took too long. So there's one I really want to review because I was tagged in a post, and it was apparently um so I'm gonna tell you who it is. Basically it is hold on. It is Brandon's logical consistency's new video. I mean, I'm not sure if there was one after that, but basically he tagged me in a post saying that me and David's Arena's method and also Debug Your Brain's method inspired a new method that he just made, logical consistency. So I really want to watch it to see what it's about. So let's do this. Okay. That will be the last video for today because it's already been 2 hours, and so let's do this.
What would stop you from going vegan?
I guess feeling like I'm not getting the proper nutrition from like the meats from certain animals.
By the way, I just wanted to say I watched it on high speed, and it's a feel good one, so it's gonna be a nice way to end it.
Okay. So if you were able, if I gave you some resources and you were able to learn that you can get the proper nutrition from just eating plants, would you go vegan?
Yes, I definitely would, because if I can get nutritious vitamins and whatnot from other sources, and it would save the life of animals, then I definitely would do it.
All right, man. Thank you for coming to talk.
Of course.
I'll start by introducing.
Please, guys, put a fish at the end of like your comments. Just making sure that I can see it. Sometimes I don't need it to see it, but just to make sure. I agree. I disagree with saying meat eater ever, really. I mean, I said it early in the live, but I think I was wanting to do that. Because, obviously it's not about diet, one, and it's not only about meat. It's really I think the proper thing to say is non-vegan, and hopefully we can popularize the term Malzoan, which means, supporting and being for animal exploitation and use and abuse and, all this stuff. So yeah, I agree with that. Where is this? Exactly. You put it better than me. Yeah. Yeah, using meat in general is not the best either, because you're kind of referring it as a food item kind of thing, and it's like a euphemism for flesh. That doesn't help with people seeing the victim either.
See yourself?
I'm Jack.
Jack. Brandon. Nice talking to you.
Nice to meet you.
So sir, I just want to ask, do you know what veganism is?
To an extent, yes.
Good. Could you mind sharing a little bit?
If I'm not wrong, being a vegan or veganism is not eating meat.
Kind of, but there's a lot more to it. So I'm glad we're sure.
Interesting. I think he probably was inspired from David and I's outreach method for asking that question, because I say that's my actually my last question is, what do you think veganism is, so that we can really get that what really they think it is, and then we can tell them the definition so that they know what we're talking about, kind of thing.
We shared that. I want you to take whatever you think veganism is and just throw it out. Okay. Just totally forget it, right? Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Oh, of course.
All right. And I want to just establish what your values are. Yeah. Okay. So just forget about veganism, forget about animals, forget about anything, right? I'm going to ask about you and people. Okay.
As I already said, earlier, I think it's better to not even talk about their values at all, because it's not about their values. Even if their values weren't aligning with veganism, it wouldn't matter.
Other humans. So to start, would you say that you are against discrimination?
I'm definitely against it.
Okay. And just...
Even if I understand, of course, because you're establishing what, like, you know, like you're using it against them when they contradict themselves later. You know, I do that as well in my own outreach, but I prefer not stating that it's about their values kind of thing because of what I already said, you know?
So everyone knows when I say discrimination, I mean treating somebody else different based on physical traits, based on mental traits, whatever, anything other than their actual actions or character.
I'm definitely against that, yes.
Okay. What if discriminating against somebody let you live longer or benefited you in some way?
No, because you have to think about how other people feel.
Okay. That's the first question.
It's a very interesting way to put it. I think I understand why he put like the character thing, but I wouldn't, because like, what if someone else says like, well, animals are not moral agents, for example, so they have a lesser character than us? I don't know. That could be problematic, maybe. I don't know.
Next question. Would you say that you're against exploitation? And by exploitation, I mean using somebody or other people as resources strictly for your own benefit.
Okay, I love that. I need to do that. And I think it's great that he defined exploitation, because people have the hardest time with that. It's understandable. It's kind of, I don't feel like we use it that often, this term, and I feel like I need to do that. I need to write it out actually. Outreach. Yeah, very helpful.
No, I'm definitely against it. Although it may be beneficial for me, I'm technically using someone for my own benefits, so that's not good.
Okay. Even if it like really benefited you, for example.
No, I'd still be against it because you don't want to use people for their own good.
Okay, great. Next question. Would you say that you are against what's the next I was going to use? Okay. Would you say that you are against
I relate to that. It happens to me, especially when you're starting to use a method for the first time. Like, you just forget your questions. It's kind of like frustrating and scary as well.
abuse?
I'm definitely against it, especially
abuse.
Oops,
That
sorry.
you are against what's the next I was going to use? Okay. Would you say that you are against abuse?
I'm definitely against it, especially with children.
Okay, especially with children. And why with children, if you don't mind me asking?
Because if children develop trauma at a young age, it can affect their whole life.
So you would say, especially with children, is it fair for me to say that, or assume that you mean that they're like vulnerable, right?
Yes.
They're like a more vulnerable population. Okay. And by abuse, I mean like physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, all the abuses. And even if, again, same question, even if it benefited you, you'd still be against it.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Last question here.
I have an issue with people saying abuse in outreach, but I don't really have an issue with that right here, because you can define abuse. We can say that it's exploitation is abuse and exploitation is using someone else as a commodity, but maybe it would be good to avoid that in some sense by not using the word abuse. I mean, I would never use the word abuse because of the issue of like, well, it's not abusing an animal to use them in the way you think it's okay to use them, when just using them as a commodity and as a resource is abuse, kind of thing. I think it's important to clarify that for people. But I get what he's doing there. Like, I don't think it's as bad as usual when we say abuse. Like, I don't know. I have to watch the rest.
How about premeditated killing?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, like murder, like intentional killing, like you think about it beforehand, you choose to do it intentionally.
No, I'm totally against that, but I think that also has to go with abuse, because if you
I can see the similarities with mine and David Sirina's method, with like asking questions that are super obvious, and people are like, "Why are you asking me this? This is weird." So that you can, obviously establish their values and use it against them when they're not consistent about the animals, kind of thing. I mean, use it against them, just show their inconsistency, I guess.
develop mental issues from abuse at a young age, it can develop into what you just said.
Sure, like psychopathy or something. And would you?
I feel like he got lucky as well with that guy, because he seems like empathetic and caring in general, and these people tend to be easier to convince.
Say that like killing is kind of a form of abuse, like ending somebody's life?
Yes, I think it is a form of abuse.
Okay, great. I appreciate your answering this question. Now I'm going to ask you this. You said yes?
Yes, I think it is a form of abuse.
Okay, great. I appreciate your answering apathy or something. And would you say that like killing is kind of a form of abuse, like ending somebody's life?
Yes, I think it is a form of abuse.
Okay, great. I appreciate your answering this question. Now I'm going to ask you this. You said yes, you are against all of those actions, right?
Correct.
Why are you against those actions?
Because I want to be a righteous man and do what's right.
Right. But what about?
When I hear that, I have red flag coming up. Like, ooh, righteous man, sounds Christian, and I don't have a lot of great experiences with Christians in outreach. But now I feel like it goes better because I have a better way to deal with religious people, kind of like showing them that the mentality they have about animals being here for them is the same as slave owners' mentality about like people being there for them. So, but yeah, it's a red flag.
Humans, right? What about us? Like, what essentially those actions are suggesting, right, is that we should care about how our actions impact other people, right? Humans deserve moral consideration, right? To be considered morally. Why? Like, what about humans?
And I do that as well. I think it's important because, like, they will tell you later, well, yeah, but it's wrong for humans and animals. But then if you do that, it's like, what is it about it? And then you get the trait, which is usually sentience or something like that. You can show that it's present in animals as well.
Specifically, why does it matter what happens to you, what happens to me?
Because everyone's life holds a lot of value, so you got to cherish that.
But why do they hold value? Like, for example, if you went up to a table and you elbowed the table, right? Would you say that matters?
No, because I guess it's not living and we're living.
Right, but let's say you take a carrot, right? And you step on a carrot, right?
That's good.
Would you say that should be considered morally?
Not as much as humans now.
And why? Like, so the carrot can't do what that humans do.
At this point, the guy's like, what is this? I so relate to that.
Yeah, because humans have a lot more capabilities. Like, we live lives, we can have kids, and carrots are kind of just a thing we consume.
Okay, I'll just get you there. I think what I was going towards, or I was trying to lead you towards, is that we can feel, right? So, like, for example, if I go to a carrot and I say, start insulting it, punching it, right? It has no capacity to feel that what I'm inflicting to it, right? But we do, right? That's why I care about what you do to me, and that's why I care about what I do to others, because I understand that, right? And what veganism is suggesting, or what veganism is advocating for, is humans and other animals, we share that trait in common, right? Despite all of our differences.
It's so funny because I feel like this is something that happens when you're starting a new method kind of thing. It's kind of like not as smooth as it's going to be in the future. And so like the people look at you like, what's this? Like, you know what you're doing? Like me.
Despite our mental abilities, our physical differences, we have that similarity to where we all can feel. We're sentient. The term is sentience, right? So if you said you're against all those actions because, it would harm humans can feel that harm, and animals can feel that harm, then why wouldn't we extend those same rights, those same values to other animals?
I think people should definitely consider it, and we also need to look at life in a different way because, as he just explained, animals can feel pain just as humans, but I think people don't think of that because they're just selfish.
Okay, well said. So I guess from here, this is the point in the conversation. I'm going to define veganism just so you have it. So veganism is against the exploitation of animals. We reject, and animals, including humans, it's all animals, all sentient animals. So that means we don't want to use them, abuse them.
I don't agree with that. I understand, like, yeah, we are animals, so it makes sense. But like, no, I feel like no. Like veganism is not like it's not directed towards humans. That's human rights kind of thing. But like veganism is only focused on non-human animals because we already have like how you call it, we already recognize the moral obligation to not exploit humans, even if it's still happening. Most people agree that it's wrong to use someone else, I mean, a human being, as a commodity, etc., as a resource. But we don't see that when it comes to other animals. And so veganism is only about non-humans. It benefits humans as well in some ways, but it's not about humans. It's about non-human animals. But yeah, humans are animals. I understand the thought process, but I don't think that's true.
Or kill them for food, clothing, entertainment, or anything else, right? So it goes hand in hand with those values. So that you said you're against. So
I mean, it would make sense if it was, but it's not, because you can't make the movement about humans as well when humans already have a movement, and they already have moral obligations recognized outside of veganism. Non-vegans recognize that humans should not be exploited, but they're not vegan. Like it's not the same thing. I don't agree with that.
What would stop you from going vegan?
I guess feeling like I'm not getting the proper nutrition from like the meats from certain animals.
Yeah, it's not their movement. It matters, but it's not their movement.
Animals.
Okay. So if you were able, if I gave you some resources and you were able to learn that you can get the proper nutrition from just eating plants, would you go vegan?
Yes, I definitely would, because if I can get nutritious vitamins and whatnot from other sources, and it would save the life of animals, then I definitely would do it.
Fantastic. I'm going to give you some resources. I have a website.
You
I
did
got
well.
2 YouTube channels that you can follow. But do you have any other questions? Anything else? Any other feedback?
No, but I've learned a lot from this conversation. I'm definitely going to spread the word of veganism.
Awesome. That makes sense to you, right? They're awesome, man.
That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
This is awesome. It went so well, and it made me feel good watching this conversation. Really, really cool. I think I mean, I'm a sucker for reverse psychology. This was kind of half and half. Not really reverse psychology, I guess, because it's like it was from the get-go. You knew it was about veganism, but it was kind of reverse psychology in the same sense, because it was establishing his values, or like him understanding why it's wrong to exploit humans, for example, and use them or whatever. So in some sense, it was an interesting way of doing it. It's really cool. Yep. So I want to, of course, say, like, I mean, there were 2 other outreaches I wanted to watch, but I think it's getting a little too long. But I will review them next time. And yeah, I obviously, like this. I've been criticizing the hell out of them and giving a lot of feedback, but that's the whole point. Like, just to get better, all of us learning from them. I learned a bunch from them. Put some stuff down, and hopefully we can all, learn from this. I think this is very important. I'm going to do this once a month because I have a hard time doing it on my own, and this is a great way to motivate myself to do it as a discussion with you guys, and creating content at the same time is nice. Yeah, so I wanted to say some other things. Oh, also at some point I will react to one of my worst videos. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of subjective, but I will react to an early video and criticize myself as well, because I think I can learn from that as well, and hopefully you guys can as well. Give me your feedback and stuff like this. Also, I wanted to say that there was, I mean, only one smaller channel than Joey and Earthling Ed at this time, but I feel like as smaller channels, like it's really our responsibility to make the change that, all these things we talked about, to change our outreach for the best, because like these bigger activist channels usually don't come across this type of feedback as much, and they are often very much more busy or things like that, or they might not accept it sometimes. It's very important to obviously be open about feedback about our outreach, because it's not about us as a person. It's, even if it can feel personal at times, it can be really difficult to receive it. I totally relate to that. I think it's important that we listen to each other and keep challenging challenging each other and just to get better, you know, as activists, just for the animals, not for us, really. So, but of course, trying to do that in as respectful a way as possible, because it's not about the person again. So yeah, I'd love to hear some feedback about what I said today. If you want to reach out to me on Instagram or wherever, you know. Thanks so much. Please let me know if you have things I forgot to address that you directed at me. Okay. Veganism to me is conscious effort to avoid the needless abuse / exploitation of animals as much as practicable. I'm only 1.5 years going vegan. I really enjoy your videos, Lucy, how you approach it. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Yes, I guess that's what it is, but I guess needless can be a weird word sometimes, but I get what you mean. And practicable can be weird sometimes because people say it's not practicable for me when really they're just using that as an excuse. But I also understand that there are things that are really hard to avoid. For example, some medications, if you're like in a death or life scenario, like, and it's been tested on animals and things like that, it's a difficult situation. But hopefully making more vegans and having a more vegan world will just make these problems disappear. So yeah, thank you so much. That's really nice. I will do that. Thank you. Let's see, any other things where I'm tagged? All right. I wanted to say other things as well. Oh yeah, so Brandon, because Brandon was the only smaller channel that I think might watch this. I would love to hear your feedback about my feedback on Instagram. We've talked to each other already, but that could be very helpful. And also, if you have feedback on my own outreach, that would be really helpful to me, if you have the time, of course. And yeah, thank you so much, like Joey, Ed, and Brandon, and all the other activists out there doing the work for the animals. Thank you so much for all the time, energy, and sweat and tears, just frustration put in all of this. It's very hard to do activism sometimes, but it's very important. So yeah. Also, guys, I would like to ask you several things. Which outreach videos would you like me to react to next time or in the future? Because I would like to react to the ones that, like the videos that you like me to react to. That would be cool. So let me know in the chat or in the comments if you think about something. And I will definitely write it down and we'll do that. And also, don't forget there is this live in like kind of in a month, on the 26th of April, there will be this book club, the first vegan book club. By the way, Animal Personhood, it's thanks to you, so thank you so much for this awesome idea. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I've started reading the book and taking notes for the summary, and you don't have to read the book to come up, of course, because I understand that many people either just they can't really buy the book or they just don't have the time or energy to do it. That's totally fine. Of course, it would be better if you read it so that we can discuss it together, but I will also give a summary of it, plus a commentary of it. I'm learning already a lot of things about it. And I will be doing also a live replying to some comments I've been getting. I don't know if you've noticed, but basically I've taken a break from answering comments lately because I was just burnt out from that. But I've just started doing it again today, but I will nonetheless react to some comments, like the best comments, kind of like non-vegans and vegan comments that are more just like more adjusting my outreach style, or like some advice and feedback that I thought were really helpful or interesting and worthy of discussion, and non-vegan stupid things or like interesting whatever things that I could discuss and give some vegan answers to. So yeah, I hope you'll I'll see you there. That would be cool. And thank you so much for being here, guys, and taking the time to think about our activism and listening to me rambling. So yeah, I hope you have a great night or rest of your day, whatever. And please get active for the animals, continue educating yourself and doing amazing activism. And thank you so much for all the support. Please like, subscribe, comment if you can. That would be really helpful. And yeah, I'm gonna go now. Thank you so much, everybody, and see ya.